cloud. So once again, hello everyone. Hi Mia, now I know who you are. Okay, thank you. Lisa is here, Christina is coming, there's some more coming on. So while we are actually waiting on everyone to come on board and joining us, could you do me a favor and put in the chat, where are you right now with your study material? Some of you might already be way ahead, like have done completely. Some might have just started lesson 1 or 2. Just to give me an idea, Helene is lesson week 5, Roy is week 7, and I have Peripherella, but I think that face that I'm seeing here is Susie. Okay, welcome Susie. And so if you're just finishing week 1, perfect. And then Susie starts with everything. Stephanie ended week 1. So just that gives me an idea where you are. The topic, Moiti says, I'm starting today. Perfect, you're at the right place. Because today what is actually in lesson 1 is more or less an introduction to the whole concept of what Siddha Veda and Ayurveda is, but it also is about you and you deciding what you want to focus on for the 100 days. And if you are in the 3 years course, you will get a similar PDF, or you should actually already have it, where you do the same. You're deciding on what you want to work on for 3 years, because that is really important that you have a frame around you. Where are you heading to? So when you are listening to all these lessons, all these principles, all these home remedies, everything that you are learning, that you can apply it to yourself first. Because if you are focusing, for example, on, let's say, high blood pressure, then whenever you hear something where high blood pressure is mentioned, a home remedy, a mama point for high blood pressure, then you can pay particular attention to exactly that and listen then, oh, that applies to me. So what can I do? Then you apply them, take notes. What are you doing? How often are you doing it? And then what are the results? So you are your own study object. And this is what actually then, once you have knowledge and you apply it to yourself, it becomes actually an embodied knowledge. It becomes an experience. And when you talk to somebody else and want to convince them or show them what is possible, it's so much easier if you can speak from your own experience. When I did this, then this happened. Like, for example, I once had this horrible headache and I was dealing with it, and don't ask me why, but I didn't even think about using any of these tools that I already had. And at some point I just went to bed and it was really like a migraine kind of headache. I fell asleep, I woke up again a couple of hours later and it was still there. Really, really bad. And suddenly I remembered that with the book, Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer, there were also bonus videos. And I remembered that in one of the bonus videos, Dr. Noram actually explained that there are different kinds of headaches. So I looked it up and I listened to it. It's only a very short video, like 5 minutes or something like that. And it explained what headache I had, because it was very clear I had a Vata headache. And it showed me exactly which mama point to press, and particularly what I could use as a home remedy. So I mixed it all together. I forgot now exactly what it was, but I mixed it all together. I put it on my neck, and within minutes, I could feel, lying in my bed, I could feel this tension, that I had in my whole head dissipate like magic. It was really like 3-4 minutes. It didn't take much longer. And that is an experience that I can share now. So if you have experiences like that, I want you to write them down, because these are your tools in the future as well to speak about what you are learning here in the 100 days, or then when you go on in whatever program, 3-year program, or that is really this important. You can always talk about what other people, what results they had. But when you can say something about yourself, even if it's not necessarily related to what the person is experiencing, you can still give, in a sense, a testimonial about what is possible with these home remedies. So that's just as an introduction. And let me just double check what's, can you share it here, the video? Actually, I don't have the link here right now, but I can definitely look it up and send it out to you. It is, if you have read the book, go to the website, My Ancient Secrets, and look for the bonus videos that come with the book. You can sign up for that. And once you, and then you find them there, but I can give you the links. I just don't have it ready. I'm not prepared for that right now to share that. Yeah, thank you, Carol, for putting the link in My Ancient Secrets, and then you look for bonus videos that go with the book, Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer. So before we go any further, does anyone have a question right now before we start? The topic of today is the lesson 2, doshas. Mary?
Yes, I do. Oh, thank you, Cornelia. I'm sorry. I just want to get this out of the way. I'm a little confused because I'm trying to keep up with all of the different things that we're doing. On this particular 100-day one, is this the same self-paced class? That's what I'm going to when I go to the website? Yes. So it's not a separate thing that was made that I have to click on. Okay. So I'm basically repeating that. And
You're repeating that. Exactly.
Okay. Okay, good. That was one thing.
Just to make an additional point, if you're in the 3-year path,
yes,
there's a different platform, a different set of materials, and a different, that's educationirishakti.com, where the 100 days is,
it used to be.
Yeah, the same as it used to be, My Ancient Secrets, ancientsecretsnow.com.
That was, see, we have different, ancientsecretsnow.com is for
the 100 days.
100 day, like it was, okay. Ancient Secrets.
You have to see there are two different things. The one is the 100-day course. And the 100-day course is hosted by the Ancient Secrets Foundation on the website ancientsecretsnow.com. The 3 years course is actually hosted by Ayush Shakti Academy.
Which is separate also from even the immersion, right?
Yes, it's completely different. Immersion will be hosted again on a different platform. So that makes it a little bit complicated at the moment, but we will try to bring everything together. But right now, the 3 years course is on the Ayush Shakti education side. And you already have access to that for everyone who's doing the 3-year course.
Right.
But the 100 days is and stays for the time being on the ancientsecretsnow.com website.
Okay.
Where you used to go to when you did the
okay. So that makes sense so I'm trying to keep the dates separate. I'm sure you're going crazy with this stuff. To keep the dates separate and all the calls and everybody asking you questions. So I guess, you know what, is anybody from the 3-year course doing the immersion too, or is it a possibility?
It is a possibility, but I can tell you it will be very intense if you want to do it. But
you know what,
but if it's possible, I'll send you a message about that.
Yeah, if you could speak to me later on. I don't want to take any more time, but thank you so much. Perfect. I'll talk to you after this.
Hi, Cornelia. I have a question here that is many of the friends' question. One about the 100 days quizzes. On the website, when you do the quiz, there is no button as a save. And anytime you come out, you come back again blank. Like I happened to do 3 times each quiz and I couldn't save it, then I didn't know what to do.
There is no point to save it because you should, when not the very first one, I have to say, if you do the very first, it will show up. Let me show you. Give me 1 second. Now I have to find the my website. Okay, let me share my screen. Sorry for everyone, but we need to, that's always at the very beginning, that we do the kind of a walkthrough. So let me put this one down here so I can actually go in here. And I'm open up the course right now.
Because the button of done and go ahead is before you do the quiz. And that's kind of odd. You need to do it after you did the quiz and press done.
Okay,
And
so when you're in the, no, you can't do it before you have to come back to that page. You cannot click just, and if you do it properly, then just wait a second. I need to wait for the course to, so this one here is a little bit different because they were like before we did the new kind of, let me open this one. So when you do the quiz here, the challenge activity and activity submission, you start the quiz. And when you click on that, it takes you to a page that is on Google. So you are actually leaving the website at that point.
I
And
see.
you're filling those out, but when you click submit, you will get an email from Google and it will give you all the questions and it will also send you the answers you gave. So there is no, you don't need to save anything because it's actually coming then as an email to your inbox.
I have
from
not
Google.
received any email from Google.
Check your spam folder. It should be there. I get them
Really?
all the time. Yes, check your spam folder. Look for Google documents or something. It's very clear what it is when you see it.
So when you submit it and you go back to your
Yes.
outline of the assignment, and when you click on quiz, again comes as a blank.
So when you are going back here, then you click on done after you have submitted it.
Oh, okay.
So after you have submitted it, you click done, and then there's this button here on the where it says finish, and you see what happens. You see here that there's this bar that is moving here across. And once that is done, then you can click here to continue.
Okay,
And when
so
I
for the
now here on continue, it takes me automatically, if I have all of them blue here, that is very important. You need to have watched the training material. You have to have done the challenge activity. You have to have watched one of the inspirational calls on the website or the one on Sunday live, if you happen to be live and you were, so you could tick it off. And then once you click that, it automatically takes you to the next week.
Okay, and another question for some of the quizzes, because the questions are personal, like how would you treat yourself with Ayurvedic, and then the score is not the right and wrong answer because
There
this
is
is your experience. So when they score,
no one looks at your questions except the very first one. The very first assessment, that is something that Dr. Lind might have a look at it, the self-assessment at the very beginning, but all the rest, it's for you. What have you written down? And then you can see, and there's no score for questions like that. What kind of things did I take or what did I do? There is no right or wrong. It just needs to have a point system somehow in order to make it work. But you will see the ones that in a sense are false. And sometimes you will have answered the question.
okay.
And and you have answered the questions and it is wrong, and then you can say, okay, which one would have been the right one? So it's more for you to figure out if you have
Give me one
understood
second.
the material.
Okay, I double checked that, but I just felt the scores is not kind of right. Although I did all the answers correctly, it just gave me like the score, which is not right number.
Don't
so-
worry about
Okay.
the score. Even if it's wrong, don't worry about that. No one is going to check it. No one is going to.
Okay. And
do anything
and
about
one
it.
more question: the path and path is the same thing?
No,
Because you say path number and the path
No.
number.
forget about the parts here. The parts was something that we had. I sent it in an email to you, Susan. The
I didn't
part-
get that. There.
Yeah, it's most likely in the spam folder. As I said, I wrote to you
Okay.
yesterday. There
Okay.
is a part that was what we had when we went through the very first course, because there were so many people in the course that they had to split it in groups. And
Okay.
this is where the parts came from. They are not part of this course, of the self-paced course.
Okay.
But
All right.
this goes through, we have our accountability partner, if you choose to have one, and you have. So you have your accountability partner.
So in fact,
And
what Dr.
then-
Killens was asking on the Zoom, put your path number before, that's this path number you mean?
That's the pass number. I
Okay,
want you in which pass group you're in on
Okay,
the screen, so we can put you in the right.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you.
you're welcome. Satu, you have a question as well before we get started.
Yes, thank you. Is this call considered as a training call?
It is considered a training call. We will answer questions, but I'm also going through some of the material that I personally find extremely important as a foundation for what is about to come.
Right. So,
Because-
yes.
So we are doing both. We are having a part of that call is really, I'm going through, don't do slides, but I'm explaining things. And you should probably have, if you have already printed it off, some of you haven't, maybe have your notes with you. Definitely take notes when I'm speaking, because what I'm going to share is sometimes a little bit different than what you will find in the handouts or in the workbook that you get for the 100 days, simply because I have more experience right now in what people need to know. And also I'm always coming from the point of what questions were already asked about the topic. And so I'm trying to answer those questions already before they come, because that is what I feel is important. And I also know where you are heading, because I know what you need to know in order to understand the next lesson. And I have, my background is that for many, many years, I created study materials for students and assessment questions. So I am coming from with that background into this course as well. And this is why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. It's a lot of discussion. It's a lot about practical knowledge, because when you look at the study material, you already get that. But what is behind all that? So I'm trying to fill in the gaps as well.
Okay, so we are supposed to watch the training call on the website, even though
Definitely.
it's from the previous courses. Also, there were like 2 different inspirational calls attached to the first introduction. So it means that especially when the calls are like 2.5 hours long, it's a lot to watch.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking how many hours I need to.
Hold on, just 1 second. I have a call coming in that I cannot wait.
Okay, so I'm going to jump ahead a little bit while she takes the call and just.
Oh, no, I don't have to.
Oh, you're back? Okay, never mind.
Just need to grab my phone. It was on the other side of the table
Oh,
to
okay.
silence the phone.
Okay.
There are 2 inspirational calls, and they were recorded when we did the live training. One was last year in January, and the other one was the self-paced course starting in June. Now, if you want to move on to the next lesson, you need to watch at least one. However, as I mentioned just before, if you happen to be on the Sunday call like last Sunday or on the coming Sunday and are there, that's enough. If you are live on one, then you can tick it off.
Right.
But if you don't happen to manage it or cannot watch the replay, then you can go back to one of the old ones, watch one of those, it doesn't matter which one, and then tick it off. It's just that you get kind of in this space of inspiration as well. It's because this whole 100 days, even though it is about knowledge, it's much more about transformation, your own transformation, and that includes also the spiritual aspect. And by listening to these calls, you are connecting to that part as well. But it doesn't matter if you watch one of the recordings or if you happen to be one of the ones live. Okay?
Yeah,
Good.
thank you.
Perfect. Stephanie. So for everyone who has already been kind of in the middle of the course and knows all that, I apologize, but these are questions that we have a lot of people starting right now. So I need to answer those questions on the first go. Stephanie.
I just have a quick question regarding week 2. As I printed all the materials this morning, I realized I had a training workbook, but I don't see like a study material, which is named study material. Is it because the Q&A document is the study material, or am I missing something?
There is no study materials. We only had the workbook. That was
Okay.
the only thing. So if you filled in when you are listening to the training material and you fill in all the gaps, you actually have all, that is your study material.
Perfect.
Different than what we do in the other course now, but this is what you're using as your study material. So you can go and back and then you can watch it again if you need to.
Wonderful.
And so that is what we are using as the study. So let me just show you mine.
Totally perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So so much paper here. So this is what you use as your study material. So I printed off always the nice little kind of cover. So I knew which one it was, Dosha and types. That's what we are going through today. And then this is what you're doing here. I still have the old version, so it's a little bit bigger, printed off. And you have all, and you can see I have lots and lots of notes in them as well. And this is what I really would advise everyone who's just about to start or has started. When you listen to the training material, and now because it's a recording, you can actually stop it all the time. Take notes. Take notes to everything that you are listening to and what is additional information that you are getting when you are actually listening to it. Because when they speak, these presenters, the doctors, they always have additional information that is not in here. But particularly if you want to continue in the 3-year course, take good notes of what they are saying. Because, I mean, I have so many notes around that on certain pages where I just put in, it's actually already my second one that I have, because I had so many notes in it that and still nowadays, like this is one page where you can really see I have a lot of additional information everywhere put in. But even now, I have this one, the dosha one, and the one that you are getting next week for the dhatus. This is one that I have always with me when I'm watching anything about Ayurveda and Siddha Veda, because no matter which video, if it's one of the training videos that you're going to watch, or if it's one of the bonus video or the house calls videos, if you watch those, there's always mentioning something about the doshas and about the dhatus, and then often also about lifestyle. And you will have one done, I think it's week 4, where we talk about the lifestyle, and have those with you, and then take notes right here in this booklet, or have some additional papers where you take notes. Because if you take those notes and you put them under the bonus video or whatever, you will never find those notes again that refer to the doshas. That is how you try to keep your notes organized in a way that you can still find those things. That is a very important, you will get tons of information, particularly those who go on into the 3 years course. You need to start, I'm really a little bit, you need to start to get organized with your notes and with the information that you gather. Because how are you managing all that? And there are certain topics that repeat themselves, or you get additional information, and you need to find a way to keep them together. And this is what I did. I took at the beginning lots and lots of notes in here. Then I actually transcribed everything on a sheet where I have just all the information that I gathered in my, on the computer. I started a second one, and I'm still taking notes. Every time we are talking, I hear something about doshas, or I'm on a website and I find something about doshas that I haven't written down yet, I write it with that as well. So I keep everything together. That's how my brain works, and that's how I do it. You need to find your own way of organizing your notes and your topics. But I can tell you one thing, as a foundation, doshas and dhatus are 2 of the main topics. And for everyone who is going on into the 3-year course, this is the topic of Saturday's call. So we are talking about doshas and dhatus, and they expect you to have already a foundational knowledge about that. So that means you need to study what we are doing today, as well as then, of course, what's coming on Saturday. They go a little bit deeper than what we did in the 100 days, of course. But so far, any questions? Please, we are a pretty small group, so you can, if you have, just unmute yourself. If something comes up in the middle, just raise either your hand, that I will see it, or just open your mic and speak. As I say, I'm here to answer questions as well as give you a little bit of kind of, teaching a little bit.
I have one more question. It's going to be quick. Just want to make sure there is no WhatsApp for the 100 days, because it's never clear in my mind. No?
There is actually a WhatsApp group that for the 100 days, but that is a kind of an existing one. But everyone can go in there and you can always ask questions. There are like, I don't know how many people are in there, maybe 200 now. And so there's always somebody who is probably going to answer your question.
Is there a link for that? Did we receive it? I don't, if I...
Carol, can you find it quickly?
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat here just in a second.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do have that. So
Thank
you
you.
can definitely. Yeah, Marai says, I'm still trying to find a better system and keep it organized. I'm always open for any suggestions. Yeah, that is, I mean, everyone is different. Everyone learns differently. For some people, it might mean that you listen to the training session again and again, just listening because you're an audio learner. Other people are more visual, so you might need to write it down. I'm visual, but I'm also a tactile learner, which means I need to write things down. And so, but everyone needs to find their own way of learning and retaining information. So, and you probably already know from your times in school or when you did some studies what your preferred way of learning is and how you can best retain any kind of information. So go with whatever works for you. Carol?
I'm still working on my link.
Okay, I just
Got
saw
it.
that you were unmuted, so I thought you had wanted to speak.
Here we go. It's in the chat now. And we
Okay.
just as a little bit of background on this one, this isn't the place for good morning gifts and Facebook kind of pretty things and you know, those kind of things. Those are for Love and Healing Group now. So we're trying really to focus this on classroom material, what we're learning and applying. For sure, if you have a story you want to share, this is great to emphasize, you know, what we're working on, but it's not a great place for you know, Facebook kind of general stuff that goes in Love and Healing. We're trying to make this more specific to our learning objectives.
Yeah. Also, one of the things that we had for a time was that somebody commented, made a comment or had really something good to share. And then there were 25 people just giving a thumbs up or a heart, which then of course just makes it very difficult for us to kind of contain just to the, so even though if you want to then really comment on somebody, even in a personal way, there's always the way to click on the name in WhatsApp and send them a personal message if you want to. That is always possible. So, but not to crowd too much that kind of learning space that we have in the 100 days. So that is just a little bit as a, yeah, housekeeping.
Yes,
Anna?
yes, and it aggravates very much Vata because it's so many groups that we are in the WhatsApp and so many things, blah blah blah. It's so much that it really aggravates a little bit Vata. So
Yeah.
it's nice to maintain just the work level.
Yeah.
I would add that it aggravates Pitta, you know, gets on their nerves and shortens their attention span, and they want to get to the point and get it done. Just get it done, right? So, and
Perfect.
our Kapha people would just kind of ignore it and kind of go into themselves. So I think everybody is much better if we stick to the course content, but I'm glad that you brought that up, Anna.
Yep, definitely. So any more housekeeping things that, or things that Stephanie?
I don't know if it's possible because I'm that type. It's not that I'm a full love person. I love very much. But when I arrive to manage my time, which is one of my so precious resource, probably more precious than money is. I want to be concise, as you are saying. So in other groups, I have experiment in the past. By example, I don't know if it's possible in WhatsApp, but we have in, what's the other one? Not WhatsApp, but
Signal or Telegram?
Telegram. We have, by example, a group where we just cannot answer. So we are sure that what is there comes from the direction. It's only authorized material. It has been checked. It is like information. And then when we want to share, we have the other group. So I don't know if it's possible.
That's the canal. There is two options in Telegram and even in WhatsApp. You either can have group that's just admin can put the information in the canal, but in the group, everybody can do it. Maybe we can switch it to canal. This way,
if it's possible, because for my type of brain, it's very hard to go through 100 of messages to find what I'm looking for. But
that's not what the group is for. This group is also for asking questions. So if now actually, so you have.
I understand that.
If it's only admin only, then that would mean that only admins can post and can only respond. But then there's no question because you cannot actually pose a question. So that's not going to work.
I probably have been misunderstood because that group is very important and I totally agree. But beside that, we always have a page from admin where there is only the information from admin.
Okay.
So when
I
we
will
are
put
looking
that
for an information, we don't have to go through hundreds of very important comment. We find them on the chat group, which is very important. But beside that, where we are all communicating our stories and everything, there is only the I can show you. I have other examples,
No,
but
we
maybe it's
can't do
not
that
time.
right now. We have other things to do because
Yeah.
today.
No, no, but
we've
not
been
now.
getting
That's what
to-
I'm saying.
but,
But,
yeah, you can definitely show me. We can go on a
yes,
call and you can
because
show me.
for me, my type of brain, when I want to, I remember I saw passing by example a link to see that things from administration, and then other people are putting their own links for their own things, and they share things that I'm not sure are approved by what I'm learning, or I need to verify, make sure, check. It takes a lot of time. So by example, where the documents, when I'm looking for a document that has been shared by administration, it's all there, but there is nothing in between. But we keep the group we have. I understand it's important and it's the way it's working, but it's
Okay,
just
we
like,
will have a look at it.
and if you want to
Definitely,
know, we
might
can
need to
discuss
switch.
it later, or
Yeah, I know we need to discuss that later.
Yeah.
I don't think, Lisa is saying Telegram has that, but I don't think WhatsApp has that, but that might be then maybe an incentive to actually move to the other platform for that.
We don't need to, it was just a suggestion.
No, I mean, but that is a valid question. Organization, how do we handle that in the future? I mean, we are all learning and we are open to suggestions, so that is not a problem. It's we would definitely look into that. Thank you for the suggestion, Stephanie. Anyone else? Otherwise, we are already 40 minutes into the call, so let's get going, I guess. So last week, I don't know if anyone actually watched the replay from last week that we had. Otherwise, and I want to start actually with you as well, the same questions. What is actually Ayurveda? What does it stand for? And as I say, we are in a pretty small group, so you can just open your mic and say it, or you can type it in the chat, whatever. Anyone knows what Ayurveda actually stands for?
Is it the science of life?
Yes, the science of life. And when you think about that term, the science of something, the science of life, what does that mean to you? What do you think does that mean? Mia said understanding and science of life. Does anyone want to go and add to that?
The wisdom.
There is the observation, maybe, that we
Very
can
good. Observation is a good word. What else? There's another word that goes with that.
Theory?
Mia, Mia says learning through experience and nature and applying this learning for optimal outcomes. That's exactly what I was kind of looking for, because learning through experience and observation should be there as well. Because when we look how old these, what we are learning, these ancient secrets are, what did these people do 5,000 years ago? How did they get to the knowledge that we are now learning? They did it by observing, first of all, nature. And then they tried things out and had an experience, and they observed if what they did worked or didn't work. And by applying certain things or certain herbs, then that's how they figured out if they are working or not. So it's always, science is actually observation and experience. And therefore, when we talk about Ayurveda, it's when we look at nature, there are certain patterns as well. So we are looking for patterns. And what these old healers actually discovered was that we humans are made of the same elements as everything else in the world. Or actually outside of the world as well. Everything is made of elements. And Ayurveda actually distinguishes 5 elements. And what are these 5 elements? Anyone? Stephanie?
There is, I don't know, I'm not sure in English, but I know there's ether, water, earth, air, and fire.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I would recommend in this case that you learn them in a certain order. And you start with space or ether. Let's, for the fun of it, right now, go with the word space mainly, even though you will find when you look it up in the internet, you will also find it often as ether. But go with space, because that is what the term that we are going to use also in 3-year program. So space is the first one. Then the next one is air. And then after that is fire. And then water. And there is earth as well. So we have space, air, fire, water, earth. And now when we look at the first 2, ether or space and air, what does come to your mind when you think of those 2 words?
Water. Movement.
Yes. What else?
Invisible.
Invisible. What else?
Light.
Yes.
Lot of movement.
Lot of movement. Yes.
Energy.
Yes.
Unstable.
Yeah, could be.
Expanding.
Yes.
Light.
Yeah, I don't want you to read. I want actually, I
No,
don't
I'm
want you to
I'm
go into
telling
your,
you.
I don't want you to go into, I want to go into your experience. When you think of air, what is one of the things that where air is actually palpable? Where can you feel air?
Breath.
I'd say dry breath, air,
Dry breath, yes.
skin
What
on your
else?
skin. You'd feel it on your skin.
How do you feel it on your skin?
It's wind with wind.
Yeah, I was just saying, look at my window behind, like look at the window behind me. There you see the wind right now. You see the palms waving here. And that is very, because I want you to make this connection between the space and air. They are connected to wind energy, to wind, to movement, wind, breathing. That is all connected to this air and space. And air and space together, these 2 elements form vata, which is the first dosha. And this is why I want you to learn them in this order, because those 2 go together. They are, vata is made of those 2 elements. And they have all these qualities that you were mentioning, drying out wind. It can be cold and it has certain qualities to it. But I don't want you to learn this by heart. I want you to learn that as an experience. What is wind? When you are wet and the wind is going over your skin, you get immediately cold. If you are sitting in a room where there is wind blowing through or draft, you are getting a stiff neck. All of that is a vata aggravation. So I want you to make these kind of connections. And this is why for me, this you can learn what it's in the handout here or in your workbook. But I want you to think of all of that as an experience in life, to understand what vata is, because that makes it so much easier to, first of all, remember, But also then when you look at a certain person, when you see, for example, that their skin is extremely dry, that you have like dry lips, cracked lips, something like that, cracked skin at certain points, like in the elbows or things like that, that is a Vata condition. And if you learn things like that, then the whole understanding of what Ayurveda is and how they observe people makes more sense. Any questions here for that?
I have a question.
Yes, Sienna.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So just as you were explaining, you talked about the Vata condition, you know, and you said if someone has a dry, cracked skin, it means that they're lacking air or space.
I didn't say they lack it. What I said is that they are causing it. When you have wind that is blowing all the time, just imagine that. It is drying out the earth. If you have constant wind that is blowing, when you have your laundry out there and the wind is blowing, your laundry dries very quickly. When your skin is exposed to wind all the time, your body dries out very quickly. So wind is actually making things dry. And you can see that, for example, that's just one example, there are many more, but for me, that is one thing that I can remember, is that I might have dry skin and dry lips, cracked lips. That is Vata, wind. I make these kind of connections with Vata.
Okay.
And then, of course, when you look at dry, what else could be dry in your body? You could have dry hair. If somebody has very dry hair, that could also be a Vata condition. Constipation could be a Vata condition, because constipation means there is fluid missing in your digestive system. So your stool gets very hard often, and then you're constipated. So by understanding this concept of what Vata actually is, dry and all of that, then you understand more what kind of conditions you might actually see in a person. That might
if they're experiencing dryness, it actually means that they have like too much wind in their body or something.
Say it again, please.
If their skin is dry or any part of their body is dry, does that mean that there's too much wind in their body? Or I just want to know how it is being interpreted.
It is not in the sense wind, but it is Vata. Vata is high. Wind, that is just an example. What Vata is, air and ether, these two elements, and they are connected to the wind. But when you imagine what wind does in nature, this is the same what high Vata does in the body. It dries it out. It's not meaning that you have wind in the body, but you have the symptoms of what wind would do in the body. Like drying out, for example. So you have dry skin, dry hair, dry lips, cracked skin. That is because of that. And so you have to make a distinction. What I'm trying to tell you is how to remember the things also by connecting it to this wind idea. That will give you a hint what Vata is. Susie?
Hi there. I was going to say, when I was a little girl, I was almost all vata with some pitta. And I was very dry, I had very dry skin. I had my head in the clouds. And my mom literally would say this, she runs like the wind. I never walked. And I was very restless. It was really hard for me to sit still. And I was constipated. So I was always kind of having to do, you know, the prune juice and the prunes, and it was yucky as a little kid. And my mom would slather me in Nivea from Germany because she would get stuff because I was very dry. And I was airy fairy, very, very light. And that's how I experienced vata in my body as a little kid. Now I have kapha out of balance, but that's who I was as a little child.
And
Very,
that's a
very
very
vata.
good, that's a very good example of what you're saying, running like the wind. So we even have our language actually also gives indication of what a person could be. And Maria writes in this chat, emotions would be for vata, anxiety, spacey, anxious, of course. So that is also, so all of what we are talking about applies to all of the different fields. If we talk about mentally, we talk about emotions, we talk about what happens physically, when we talk about certain, about the doshas. Now, before we go any further, let's go to the next one. Let's talk about, so we have 3 doshas, 3 that kind of, where we see the elements. The first 2 elements were ether and air, vata. The other 2, the next 2 that are forming one is actually fire and water. And fire and water are pitta. So when you think and water, what comes to your mind? When you think of fire, what comes to your mind?
Refreshing, refreshing, cooling.
Fire? Does fire cool you?
No, I was talking about water.
Water.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Water. Sorry.
I didn't know
yeah.
we were on
Could
fire.
be cooling. Yeah, no. I didn't. Yeah, for that.
Burning.
Burning. So
It
what is the
tastes hot
first
and liquid.
word that? Liquid, yeah. What else? Let's start with fire first. What comes to mind is fire?
Heat.
Hot.
Transformation.
Heat, hot, yeah. Boiling. Okay.
Transformation.
Are we talking about fire? Are we talking about fire?
Because fire transforms.
Yes.
That is true. And same is true for water. Water is a great example of transformation. Why? Why is water a great example for transformation? Satu?
It can freeze and it can steam up, evaporate.
Right. So we have 3 when you talk about physics. So you have the frozen state, then it melts, then it goes into liquid, and then when you heat it up even more, you get steam. So that is a perfect example of transformation.
One, fire does the activity of transformation. Water holds the experience of it transforms. Uh-oh, did we lose Cornelia?
I think she got frozen. She went back, left, and come back again.
Yeah. So I was just mentioning, I was feeling into how fire, I guess it does also holds the elements of transformation. I always think of fire burning something up, and the fire being the cause of the effect of transformation. Just making conversation until
Yeah. So Vata's transportation and fire's it's transforming things from, it could go from solid to liquid, from liquid to steam.
But when it comes to fire, steam, like the same thing, steam, the heat causes dryness as well. So it could be dryness, a character of Pitta as well, isn't it?
Yeah, Pitta can definitely affect the dryness, and too much sun dries out your skin.
Exactly.
And, yeah, the two go.
But
hand in
it's
hand.
only it's always the air that makes the fire bigger.
Yeah.
So it's the Vata that affects Pitta, and Pitta as a fire element burns up everything. So it really doesn't dry, but it burns down.
It evaporates it, right?
That's such a good example, Satu. Sorry, by the way, that I disappeared, but my internet just broke down for a moment. It seems always around 2 o'clock in the afternoon that they do a reset here, whatever, and then the internet goes for a couple of seconds, and then before it comes back. Satu, that was a perfect, what you just said, that actually the wind makes the fire bigger. And this is why Vata is, from that point of view, the most important one, because it can aggravate all the other doshas in a very strong way. And your example was just perfect for that. When you have a fire and the wind comes in, either if it's still a very small flame, it will actually extinguish it. But if it's already burning, then it will increase it even more. And so that is what can happen as well, that the Vata can actually aggravate the Pitta as well. But when we talk about dryness, you often look at first if there is a Vata excess of Vata in the body, too much Vata. And then you can also check if it's coming from Pitta, because there might certain conditions with dryness can also come from Pitta, because fire can dry out as well. Thank you, Satu. Perfect. Susie, you have a question or a comment? No, obviously not. Or did she?
I was going to give a couple examples of Pitta out of balance, basically. Is that when I had a temper as a kid, and my spin with the Vata, boy, let me tell you, it would come like bam, and I'd be like, and then when it was done, I was done, and I would go on. I wasn't resentful. I just burned it up and moved through my emotions. And I have to give an example with my ex-husband, because instead of putting water on my fire, my Pitta, he would add wood to it. I could literally argue with him for 8 hours straight. And I kid you not, I did it. He and I mean, it was intense. So those are examples of Pitta out of balance, basically. I had no self-awareness at that time, or a level of self-control that I could put water, to put my own fire out in that situation. Never got violent. It just was a lot of arguing. So I thought I'd give those examples of Pitta on fire.
Okay, very good. So when it comes then, again, we are talking still about Pitta. So what could be, when we think about emotions and fire, what comes to mind? Susie was already mentioning it. She had a temper. What else?
anger, probably.
Anger is one, yeah.
Impatience.
Impatience, yes. Another one.
Impulsivity.
Say it again. Anna?
Impulsivity. We don't say that in English.
Yeah. Impulsiveness, yeah. Or
Criticism. Yeah.
Criticism could be.
Criticism.
Yes.
Very much.
Yeah. What else?
The need to be the best.
Competitiveness. Yeah,
Yes.
could be. And another one that comes to mind for me is jealousy. That is also, there's also fire behind it. There's also this kind of, Mia asked, what about people who are always on the move, unable to settle? What do you think?
Vata.
Yep. So this is kind of how you can make connections, you know, now that you know that one of the main qualities about Vata, wind, is actually movement. So anything, if somebody is constantly on the move, cannot sit down, is always, there's definitely a Vata issue, because they just cannot sit still. And the wind is not, it's always moving. So you can make these kind of connections. And that is for me what is a little bit above what we kind of, what is just here in the handout, that you start to think that way. When you see a certain person, how do they behave? What are they doing? How are they going through life? And then try to guess what is the quality behind it, because then you can also make judge, in a sense, a judgment what might be their Vata, and that can help you then to make maybe better decisions, particularly if you want to help them, what might be needed in order to calm their Vata down or their Pitta down or whatever it might be. And just to be very clear, no one is 100% Pitta, no one is 100% Kapha or Vata. Kapha is the third one. And we are all a mixture of all of them. We all have all five in our body, because every single thing in the whole universe is made of those five elements. The question is, to what percentage, to what degree? And we all have a certain predominance of one of the elements. So if somebody has more wind energy or more ether space energy, then they are Vata predominant, but they might have still like 30% of Pitta and maybe 15% of Kapha. But because Vata is stronger, then we say they are maybe a Vata Pitta person. If somebody has like 60% Pitta and then 20% or 25% then Vata and 15% Kapha, then this is a Pitta Vata person. And depending which one is the most dominant, this is often then that one dosha that aggravates the easiest. And so that is how we then start to look at people and start to diagnose them by knowing what is their predominant dosha. Susie?
I was going to say, in my teenage and my 20 and 30 years, where my pitta was more strong, because I was learning how to handle the vata stuff. Because I was diagnosed with ADHD in my 20s, but I definitely was that way through grade school and high school. But by college, I started having some tools to help with the mind. So what I ended up having to do to help the mind was to exercise. So I was really physically strong and learned how to bring my mind into my body when I started doing yoga. And one of the I have to say the funny thing, because my teachers would have a really hard time looking at me because I could never slow down. So when I was doing gentle yoga or yin yoga, it was really difficult. And doing shavasana, my body would twitch because it just couldn't relax, couldn't relax. So anyways, I just wanted to share that because that I don't have a lot of that in me now, but it's still in me because I just am careful now. I have to spoon feed my energy because of how my body has with Epstein-Barr. But anyways, I just thought I'd share that with you all. So you have a visual of what that looks like. And I was red.
Yeah, that is often
I was
another
red,
thing.
physically red. I'd be sitting there perfectly fine, and all of a sudden, not a hot flash, I would just get red if I was passionate about something, or I would just physically get red.
Yeah, I can give you another example because that is a perfect example of the difference between Vata and Pitta. I'm living in the Bahamas, so here it's always hot, which also means that that we often have the, as you can see, ceiling fan on, which is of course then creating wind. And I'm not in the place where I normally live. I'm just in a friend's place, but we have a pretty small kind of living room. And I have a friend that I'm sharing the apartment with. And so when we are sitting in the evening and the fan is on, I have to sit in one little corner where there is the wind not touching me, and I don't get the wind of the fan. He is a Pitta person, and he's sitting there in shorts and no shirt on, and he's sweating, he's hot. And I'm sitting next to him, the fan is blowing, and I might actually have a towel on me to keep me warm. And it's the same temperature, we're in the same room, but that is the difference between a Pitta person and a Vata person. I have cold feet, and he is sweating the whole time and warm. And so even this is often also discussion in when people share a place, that for one it's way too hot, and for the other person it's way too cold. How is that? It's because of that. We are so different. None is better than the other, just different. And I mean, we found a way to sit in the room that he is sitting right underneath the fan, and I'm sitting in the corner where it doesn't hit me. So just to make that really clear, that is one of the ideas that is also where it shows Vata and Pitta difference. Let's move on to the next. There's a third dosha. And dosha, the third one, is kapha. And that is a combination of the elements water and earth. Now, when you think of earth, what comes to mind?
Gravity, heavy.
Heavy, yeah.
Nourishing?
Nourishing, yeah, the earth is very nourishing. So all the nutrients, all the plants, everything nourishing, yeah. It also nourishing us if we allow ourselves to actually, for example, walk barefoot, taking in the earth energy, that is also nourishing. What else comes to mind when you think of earth?
Grounded.
Very grounding, yeah.
Growth.
Growth, yeah.
I would say life-giving, something that's life-giving.
Say it again.
Heavy.
Heavy.
Life-giving, something that's life-giving.
Life-giving, very good. Yeah, that's a good word. Nourishing, life-giving.
Loving.
Solid.
Solid. Yeah.
Earth.
Helene.
Loving.
Loving. Safi, you unmuted yourself?
Yeah, dirt.
Dirt. Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, so where we get grow our plants to get the nourishment.
Yeah. And so when it comes to what is the function of kapha, what is the function of water and earth together? That would be support. The earth is supporting us. It grounds us. It's our foundation. So there's the, like, even from a structural point of view, there is really the, it supports us. If you have a building, the earth is supporting the building. It's supporting us. When we walk, it supports us. So the earth is for support. So we have then the vata is transportation. Pitta is transformation. And then when it comes to kapha, kapha is support or structure as well. So when you think of a body, for example, the structure of the body, that is kapha kind of energy. And so when you look at a kapha person, when you think about their personality, how would you, what kind of comes to mind when you think of nourishing, support? What other qualities do you think then would a person maybe have that is a kapha person?
Grounded.
Yeah.
I would say maternal, like motherhood, but I don't know the word in English. So
yeah, no, that's
like nurturing.
Very loving.
Yeah.
Lazy.
Yeah.
Safety.
What was the last one?
Safety, like I mean, secure, security, safety.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Maybe slower too, because you're so great to move.
Yeah, a kapha person is definitely not a sprinter. Definitely not. So they might have a lot of energy and a long-lasting energy, but they are not the ones that go out of the gate right away. Like
slow burn.
Yeah. So it's just so much slower.
And I have the image of the strength, you know, like someone that is like
muscular.
Yeah, muscular strength. Like don't see like a very weak or little person. It's like strength.
Yep.
Are many
also? Yeah, go on, Safi.
I was going to ask you: are many heavy people kapha?
Say it again.
Are many heavy, like fat people kapha?
Probably they tend to be more than vata people to be heavy because they are slower in their movements. They in general are more tranquil as well. So they are kind of, they like peace, they like harmony, they are easy to live, to go with, they're easily pleased. They are just loyal. These are just people that are
chill.
Like
chill.
Yeah, they chill. They're just a kapha person is just like, whereas
easygoing.
Yeah, easygoing. A kapha person that would sit kind of relax on a sofa and watch the vata person run up and down the hallway or something like that. Something like that. And I don't know if anyone has watched yet the bonus video from that.
It's more flexible. They are more flexible than other. Like
I'm
go
not
with
sure about
flow.
that one because they are often slow to react. They might be flexible in the long term, but they're also slower to react. Whereas what I just wanted to ask, has anyone watched the video from Dr. Stephen yet? The bonus video from that is in the bonus material, the bonus content about the terms that might say serve you or that you might really want to learn.
Watched it before.
He really gives a very good example about that. Imagine you're at the airport and your plane is delayed. So what do different people do? Depending on their So one person might be really upset and they run to the counter and they are shouting at the person behind the desk and making very clear that they are unhappy what's going on. One person might be there and cry and really be totally upset of what's happening. And the third person is going and get some ice cream because they have some time. So now I ask you, who is who? Who's getting the ice cream?
Kapha. That's Kapha.
Exactly, that's a Kapha person. So who is the one who gets totally upset?
It's Peter.
That's the fire person, yep. And the first one is starting to cry. The Vata person might start to cry.
Yeah.
So this is kind of what is when you watch somebody, that's how you can kind of make your connections. Okay, so this is the person that is totally relaxed. So okay, what else? So we have another 2 hours sitting here. I can go and get an ice cream. And that is one of those qualities that Kapha people have. So they don't take things so, I wouldn't say serious, but they are not aggravated as quickly as the other two. That's maybe the better word to say it.
Hey, Cornelia, I have an example of something that might be interesting.
Yes.
There's a psychiatrist on the faculty board at Harvard who studies Ayurveda, and he was talking about how much more specific you can get with depression if you know someone's dosha. And he says depression in Vata shows up as being ungrounded, unfocused, and anxious. Depression in Pitta shows up as irritation and being aggravated, and can escalate to full-blown rage if really things get really bad. And in Kapha, depression shows itself as withdrawal and pushing people away, going to the man cave or she shed, whichever the case may be. But he said he's been very successful in applying Ayurveda principles to depression and getting people off of psychiatric drugs by adjusting their diets according to their dosha and helping them be aware of the depression and how it relates to their dosha.
That's a great approach. Very interesting.
Excellent.
Are we
Carol,
going to
could you
see
repeat
it
Vata
further, Carol?
symptoms?
Vata, yes, is anxiousness primarily, being ungrounded, unfocused,
Anxious and
quick,
ungrounded.
random thoughts, repetitive brain patterns. You know, the intrusive, repetitive thought can be very Vata. Anxiety is the primary one.
Where would obsessive compulsive go into that?
Probably Vata.
Vata.
Mm-hmm.
I have a quick question about when you're first, when we're first born, are we born with a basic constitution?
Yes, it's called
So
your
that's where I'm
Prakriti.
getting a little, primary dosha.
Yeah, it's Prakriti. And what's really interesting, and I have some links I could share, is that now there's scientific studies where they do your DNA and they can predict your dosha based on your DNA, what you're born with. So when something gets vitiated or aggravated, that's when disease comes into play. But we're born with a Prakriti, and we all have a mix. You know, you might be 60% Vata and 15% Pitta, and the remaining percentage in Kapha. Everybody, there are some people who are like 33, 34, 33. Not very many people. Most people have, you know, some variations on that. But we all have a little of all of it.
And how's the best way to determine what you are?
Pulse reading is a great way. If you can get your pulse read, they can tell you, you know, in a heartbeat. They don't have to do much. For those of us who are just learning, when you see someone and their lips are cracked and dried, and you notice on their nails that they're pitted, they have, you know, dry cuticles, you can look at that and see they're really thin bodied, they're underweight. that's pretty much a physical manifestation of somebody who's very vata, the dryness, their hair's brittle. And in pitta, you're looking for muscles, you're looking for a red skin tone. Balding is a real giveaway. If somebody's losing a lot of their hair, it's pretty likely that they're coming in that pitta space. But the wrestler, the Iowa wrestler, he's built like a fire plug, just muscular and stocky, and and then your kapha build is larger boned, broader, wide feet. A foot in vata is really skinny. A foot in kapha is wide and spread out more. And then my last one is I'll give you is dogs. I love doshas of dogs. A greyhound is a great example of a vata dog. They're quick, they're fast, they're lean, they nice disposition, but they're active. A pit bulldog is a great pitta representation of dogs. They're muscular, they're working dogs. They have a little agitation to them. And a great kapha dog is a sheep dog or a Saint Bernard or something that's warm and cuddly and fuzzy, and then just as soon take a nap as chase a rabbit.
Perfect. Wow.
So this is kind of what we do in these calls. We try to make this what is knowledge applicable to everyday situations, to show you what is happening in people, so we're trying to give you information, but also show you a little bit more about the application, what can we see in people, because that is what we are looking for, but also in ourselves, not just looking at other people, but observing ourselves. And Mary, you just asked how we can find out ourselves. So what do you notice about yourself? How is your skin? How is your hair? How big are your ears? And that has to do definitely next week when Carol is doing her presentation about dhatus. And I can only invite you. I know for quite a few of you who are from Europe, next week will be difficult because it will be a late night for you or early morning, because it will be at in Germany, for example, it will be at 3 o'clock in the morning, but there will be a recording. And Carol is doing an amazing presentation on the dhatus, giving it characters so it's easier to remember. And dhatus are actually the tissue. So what we were talking today were the doshas, and we are not quite finished yet. I would like to go give it a little bit of a different spin again in a couple of minutes. But what we are doing here is having also interactions in the coming weeks where you can really ask questions when you're a little bit more familiar with the material and you have really prepared and have maybe gone through the lessons. Then you might have more questions, like when you now go through the material again and you look at all of that, some of the things that we mentioned today will suddenly fall into place, but you might also have more questions. And please bring those questions to us. Carol will be here, myself will be here, there might be someone else. I hope at some point we will also get one of the doctors to come on the calls. And so we will have interaction. So we will really make you understand the material. So it's not just this knowledge that is so difficult to contain in your brain unless it really becomes experience. And that you can then apply in your or you apply it in your own body, so it becomes an experience. Any questions so far?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, when someone is always cold, like they're always cold, what dosha constitution is that?
I would go for vata big time. Vata people are windy, they are cold. And I can tell you, I had, of course, things change over life, but as long as I can remember for a long time, I had cold feet. When I was early married and my husband and myself were sharing the same bed, I would always have my cold feet, and and he was also a pitta person, so he was always hot. So I would always warm my feet at his feet. And it was really until after my third pregnancy. And at that point, I was like in my mid-30s, that changed, that I had more pitta myself, but that has also to do that actually our phases in life are also governed by different doshas. Like as a child, we are predominantly from the environment and from our age, we are more kapha. Then when we go into the middle age, that is more pitta governed. So pitta automatically increases in the body. And when we get to a certain age, which we often call the old age, that is when vata is more dominant. And this is also why older people often are colder. They are freezing more easily because it's also part of where they are in their stage of life. So we have to look at all of that from that point of view, what is around us. And we will have sessions then when we talk about the environment, the climate we are living in, and how that has an influence on our doshas, on our fire and our water and all of that. So that is all, you can look at this whole vata, pitta, kapha only looking at the body. But if you look at and understand that we are all part of the universe and we are all of the same materials and we are all influenced by whatever is around us, then we understand more how certain things are even changing in our life because we are getting older. We are, as Carol said, we are all born with what is called a prakriti, which is our dominant dosha that we have, unless the few people that are tri-dosha where it's really equal, but still we are having that, but still we are still exposed to change in our environment that has an influence, and as well as then as we age, things change. And then whenever one of those doshas gets really out of balance, this is when disease sets in. And that is why that is so important to understand from an Ayurvedic point of view. It is when our doshas in the body are out of balance, are aggravated, there's either excess of a certain dosha or one of our doshas is very low and not functioning properly. And that has then an influence of our health, and that is what's causing disease. And I really want to spell it in the right ways. It's dis-ease. We are imbalanced, and there's a dis-ease in the body. And that is then, if that stays in the body for a long time, then symptoms show up. And that is then what causes over a long time really certain illnesses and diseases. Carol, do you want to add something to that? Yeah, she says, I'm good. Okay, so
I have a question.
Mary, yes, go ahead.
Is that then in the workbook when there was those lists and they would say, you know, there's the signs of vata increase, cause of decrease of vata.
That is what you are looking at is most likely material from the 3-year course. Am I correct? No? Or where did you find that?
Oh, it's from the Q&A for week 2.
Okay. From the Q&A. I'm just trying to figure out what material you have here.
I know, it must have been from one of the previous.
Can you show it to me again? Can you hold it again against the, but let me just do that. I need to spotlight you.
And at the bottom, it says 100-day course.
What does it say at the bottom?
Ancient 100-day ancient secrets online training, and then Q&A, training call week 2 doshas, and types page 8.
Okay, that was one of the older. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't quite familiar with that one for the moment. Yeah, this is what we are. So you have, if you go through that, then you can kind of start answering these questions and see if you can make more sense of what we just went through. That is what you are looking for, what we were just talking about in order to answer those.
I guess when I kind of looked at this, I mean, obviously I get the idea about sometimes whatever dosha can be increased or it can be decreased, but when
Yes.
it was saying the cause of, so, because I think from the examples today, I think that made so much sense, like the wind, drying things out or moving. And, this goes into like, different things. So just that word cause.
Yeah, I have to look at that document. I'm actually, to be honest, I haven't seen that in a while. So I have to look where that is coming from. And then I'll give you an answer to that next week.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
But I guess you get an idea now what we are talking about and what you kind of look at when you listen to, and I really invite you to go back also to, in the bonus materials, we have certain calls that were recorded. If you have time, I know time is, we all are very busy, and particularly when you go in the 3-year course, you have a lot of material to cover. But there are a lot of calls that are worth listening to. And when you go into the last round of bonus calls, that are actually called bonus calls, and there were 10. There are a couple of them that were with Dr. Wexler. And it says actually in the bonus call that he was there on the call. He talks a lot about doshas and the application of doshas and what you see in people. And he has just an amazing way of also explaining different types of people when it comes to doshas. So I really recommend that. And I also recommend, if you have the time, to watch, in order to make yourself more familiar, particularly with Vata dosha, is to watch the Ramdas house call number 2. When you go into the material, I'll show you on the website. Let me just see if my website is still open in the background. Okay, I'll show you again, share my screen. And so here we go. So that is now the main course. And now I go into the bonus calls. So I go back to the main page and view the courses. And then I go into this part, which are the bonus calls, or the bonus content, and there are a lot of those calls. And the first one that I would like you to watch this week, if possible, is this one. The bonus lesson, Dr. Stephen Wexler, important terms which can help you. And watch that one, because at some point he really has he does a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation, and he also talks a lot about doshas. And the other one that I would like to recommend you to watch is when you go under the house calls, the Ramdas house call at the bottom here. And when you open those, there are 3 calls there. And here's, for example, you see Dr. Giovanni doing a mama. And so these are very practical videos. So the doctors that were on those calls, they were with Dr. Naram for a long time. And they were also for example, she was traveling with Dr. Naram. So she would make sure that his traveling, again, movement, aggravates the vata. And she explains beautifully what Dr. Naram would do before he went on the plane, when he was on a plane, when he left the plane, what he did when he arrived in wherever he traveled to, in order to calm his vata, to keep his vata down, because travel automatically increases vata. So what can you do when you're on a plane, traveling to a foreign country, you're on a plane for a long time, what do you do? So this is a practical application of understanding what vata does to you and what can you do in order to stop it from aggravating in certain situations. So this is a call that I really would recommend you to watch in the next week until we see each other again, because that will give you a great additional information about doshas. And of course, you will find in a lot of the other ones also little hints here and a little hints there. And this is why I'm saying, when you keep your handout, your workbook for the dosha, always, whenever you sit down and watch one of those, then whenever they mention the doshas or have anything that you find is noteworthy, write it in this document or have some extra paper that you keep with that document. So you keep this information as it pertains to dosha together. I really recommend you do that to organize your material. So there's so much information in these calls. So don't miss out on those, even though it's a lot to watch, I know that. And but right now for this week, Dr. Wexler's call and this one are the ones that I recommend, in addition to the training material.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions? Safi says, think of it as Ayurveda Netflix. Yeah, you can think it like that. Yes, there is really great information. And just pick what interests you. And what we haven't done yet is actually giving it proper names. So you don't necessarily know when you see some of the house calls what the topics are. But in the end, it doesn't really matter because they're all great. You will learn a lot on each of those calls.
Cornelia, can you check if I have access? Because I can't seem to get on. I don't know if you have that.
I was going to ask that. I'm in the 3-year with Mary too. Like, how do we get in?
Well, if you, who was speaking here?
Zephy and Mary.
Okay. What you have both done the 100-day course one way or another. And so that means what you can do is you can go on a subscription.
I'm on that.
If you are on a subscription, then you have access to all of that.
Except that what you were just showing, your screen that you shared, that one I tried to go on, while you were speaking, and I can't get onto that. Is everything there? That's because there might have been other things added.
No, that should be there. I check, maybe for whatever reason you got kicked out. Sometimes our platform does a bit weird things, so I will check if you have access to that. And
thanks so much. Yeah, I signed up for everything, so I don't know. Whatever.
No, you should have access. You should all have access. Everyone should have access to that.
That's why I'm getting
if anyone doesn't have, just give me a shout, and I make sure that you have access to the material.
Perfect.
So are there any questions that I can answer right now?
By the way, I answered the dog dosha thing in the chat if you're interested in more about that, and I can also send out things. You can contact me on WhatsApp if you have want copies of any of this, anything that I mentioned.
I mean, we might actually put that together on a kind of a handout and also send that around, because these are kind of examples that make it very clear what the different types are.
It's a
And,
little harder for cats because they're so fickle, you know. The
Yeah,
cat's a kapha 1 minute and a pitta the next with his claws out, you know. So
I can tell you, my cat is a total kapha. have a rat or a mouse run around, or a little lizard. She just sits there. She doesn't even move. We have pigeons that constantly eat her food. You don't even think she would even move and try to defend it. She's only complaining that her bowl is empty, but she wouldn't even move. So she is
wow.
really a kapha cat.
You should have seen Buster climbing the walls with a squirrel that ended up in my dining room, trying to climb the walls, flying over the table, flying over the piano. He was like,
Well, that's what my cat does from like 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. Can you believe that?
oh my God.
Yeah, that is also one of the things that you can observe in nature all the time. Look at the different, just go through life now and look at an animal and try to decide what animal is what kapha, more predominant. And you will see that. You will see what is predominant in a certain, if you look at the lion, you will see what the difference is to maybe kind of certain dogs or certain, or like gazelle, even though they are standing a lot, but they run also a lot and they move a lot. But a lion, they are definitely kapha.
I'll just add this one last thing. I hope I get it right off the top of my head, but it's about diet. So Vata, the worst possible thing you can eat is dry food. If you eat crackers, cookies, stuff that's in a box, processed, that's the worst possible thing you can do. You need oily, soupy food. So make your mung beans or your khichdi with lots of ghee, and warm and soupy is your friend. If you're a kapha, you're all about cold. So they need warm, dry food because they're wet and on the opposite scale. So and pitta, most your pitta people love jalapenos. They like fire in their diet, right? Sour and fire. So trying to get pitta to lay off fermentation, you know, back off a little of your cayenne pepper and your seafood gumbo that comes with a flamethrower, you know, you can get them to back off of those kind of foods that can kind of help.
Yep. So you can look at everything from that point of view as well. And for everyone, as we have people here in the course that go on for the 3 years course and some people that don't, but everyone that is going on the 3-year course, I already invite you, if you have time to study the material in the next couple of days, to already have a good look at the sub-doshas. I didn't mention them here, but they are in your material here. And that will be part of what we are going to do on Saturday on the call. So if you have already kind of a little bit heard of that, at least read through that and don't think they are not important. They are actually important. But as a kind of a beginning, I wanted to make sure that you understand really the concept of what is Vata, what is Pitta, what is Kapha. And then the rest kind of falls into place over time. But that is just a little hint already what is coming on Saturday. For those, and for the rest, of course, you also want to know it, but you have a little bit kind of more time to go into that in order to understand all of that. But the 3-year course people just have a look at that. So it's not the first time you hear it on Saturday. Then already a little bit familiar that there are actually 5 sub-doshas for each. And so if there are no other questions, and I mean, I know, as I say, the people from Europe, I might not see next week, but I will send out the recording of this one most likely tomorrow. And then definitely in the next one, when you are not here, then you will get the recording. And maybe Carol will do the Datu then nonetheless live for you in 2 weeks' time. She loves to do that because it's really a great way of learning to and just even explaining how she's doing that and why it's a good way of learning might help you as well.
Cornelia, could I ask a administration kind of question?
Absolutely.
So I would love to take the 3-year course. I just thought it would be too much for me to do it right now because I'm going for the 1 year. Will a person be able to start next year in year 1?
In year 1 or
Yeah. In
what
the
do you
3
mean?
in the
In the-
3-year program?
No.
Like, okay, so it's only every 3 years it'll be offered?
Yeah, because we will be way ahead now, because what we are doing right now, the first year is a lot of groundwork and a lot of, and so when you come in later, whatever you did here in the 100 days, and even if you do the immersion one, it won't cover what we have covered already in the 3-year course. So that wouldn't work. So if you want to step in right now, then you would have to do it more or less today, but otherwise it's impossible, if they still accept anyone at all. I don't know.
Right. Okay. So this isn't going to be a concurrent, like every year a new session of the 3-year begins? Not
from what I know right now, because right now it's, there's a lot of people involved that are teaching. And so right now there are like 12 to 14 teachers and doctors involved in covering the 3-year course. So that would mean that they would have to have another set of at least as many people starting next year. And they don't have the capacity to do that.
I understand, yeah. Do you think that it's going to be offered every 3 years to jump in?
I have no idea.
I have no idea.
I have no idea what they are going to do.
Understood.
It probably also depends on how successful the whole course is. And right now we don't know. We are only in week 3. We don't know how it's going to be. And so I cannot speak to that at all. I don't know.
Okay. Well, thank you. That was very helpful.
Yeah.
So if I want to do as absolute much as I can, and I know I'm dedicated, should I write to you or Dr. Clint to ask if I can possibly join in?
Ask Dr. Clint. I couldn't make the decision anyway. I could only kind of forward the email to him. So write to him directly. That's the best way to go.
Okay. Is that Dr. Clint at ancientsecretsnow.com?
Yeah. No, I think it's Dr. Clint at myancientsecrets.com.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Cornelia.
You're welcome. Okay, so that is our session for today. And as I say, bring your questions, go through that. If you have any issues with either the website, anything else, questions concerning material or whatever, send an email to me. You all have it. Or you can also send it to staff, but preferably to me personally, Cornelia at ancientsecretsnow.com. And then I will answer them. And is anyone here on the call right now who would like to have accountability partner but doesn't have one yet? Okay.
My accountability partner may or may not partake in the 100-day, and I know she's probably not interested in the 1 year or the 3 years. So if there ever is someone who is very interested in diving into this as deep as they can.
Who was your partner? Was it Patricia?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And I dearly love her, and I'm so glad we're friends. We're going to stay friends, and we'll stay accountability partners. Definitely. I just thought I'd point out that if there's somebody going through the 1 year to 3 year that doesn't have a partner yet, maybe I could help.
Yeah, no,
Cornelia, I haven't signed on yet for an accountability partner, but I think maybe it's not a bad idea to do. You can match me with anyone if you want to. I'm just not sure what that commitment was on top of, but I'm in the 3-year program. So it's one of the things I'm doing amongst many.
It's just within the small kind of the 100-day course now. It has nothing to do with the 3-year course, but
Okay.
it might help you to go again through that and maybe kind of have an exchange.
You know what? The more exposure to this stuff and different ways of either implanting it, reviewing it, getting it in, examples, experiencing, it's the more the better. So
I know
if you
it's the
wanna do
hardest part right now, so
gosh,
because
yes.
we need to get all in, and a lot is happening. But this accountability partner is really only for the kind of 12 weeks.
Okay.
For the 100 days. But I mean, of course, later on, if you still want to do that, because you get to know each other and you are kind of really, then of course you are welcome to do that as well. But it's only designed for the 100 days right now in order.
That actually sounds good, because there's a limit in a way, in case it gets overwhelming. It's not, but I could do that. So for 12 weeks, sure.
I don't know how everyone is doing it. It might just be checking in every week and saying, did you do your activity?
Right.
Did you do this? Just kind of something like that. Or if somebody really has a question and you just want to check in with somebody, that might be enough in order to kind of fulfill your accountability, because it really means just to get through the course in the 12 to 14 weeks it takes, but not much longer if you want to kind of really be with the 100, kind of continue with the 3-year course. That's why we wanted to have the accountability, so that everyone has the chance to go through it really quickly.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you everybody for joining, and I hope you got something out of that call today, and it helped you a little bit to understand everything a little bit better. And so when you now go back and read through everything, it makes a little bit more sense to you. That's kind of my goal for all of the sessions that I'm doing. And thank you, Carol, of course, for being with me and my backbone when my internet goes and whatever, and all your great comments. And thank you for everyone participating here. And I'll see you on one of the next calls, hopefully next week or in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
Cornelia.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, everyone. Watch the bonus calls. They're great.
Okay.
Who was trying to talk to me?
It was me.
Okay.
I just so I just have a quick question. I was, as you were just talking right now, I was like looking into where the handout is to print, and I can't find the handout on the 100-day.
Let me just go there. Let me share that with you again, the website. And then now I go back to my, my course. Yeah, did you get a link to the introduction call yet?
I didn't.
Okay, yeah, because you came kind of late in, so I wasn't, okay, I need to make sure that I send it to you. Because I did a full walkthrough through the website right there, but I'll show you. It's always good to repeat. So you go into the training in the main course.
Okay.
When you go down here and you see your different weeks, let's just go for, this is now the one, even though you have to have each finished in order to move on to the next.
Okay.
And so you see here, you have the 3 topics and the quiz. And then you have here on the training calls, and actually the content is down here. So when I click on training, what happens is that, yeah, a little bit of text, and then there is the training video. But when you scroll up a little bit, you see this here, materials.
Okay.
And when I click on that, this is where you find all the papers that you need for each week. So each week when you go in and open up the training call, there is this materials button at the top. And that is the workbook. So I click on that now and open it. And and it's a PDF. And then you can actually, I mean, I don't know if you can see that now.
I can see, yes.
So you can see maybe that it shows up, so I can download it here.
Okay.
Or you can, before you even go there from here, you can just right click it from here and download. So I
Okay.
can download the link file right here and then have it save it to the computer, which personally I would definitely like you to do, so you have the always access to all of that material.
Okay.
And you have also a glossary with new words here. You have a question and answer from the training call, and you also have the challenge activity is also right here as well. And that is also when you go under challenge activity, and there's also a materials button, so you will find that activity also here.
Okay.
But all the material is really under the the training part. And so that's where you are, for all the lessons, that's where you find it.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, this is why we do these kind of sessions at the beginning as well, and I'm explaining where everything is.
Okay. And then on for the 3-year course, there was also like because I also joined that one a little late. So there was a like day that they did like showed like how to do the site and whatever. Who would I
sent you all the videos. I sent you all the links to all these videos that we did.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just take a note here on my piece of paper, and I think that's it. Then I'll say au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, tschüss. Wie man in
Sayonara.
Deutsch
Adios,
Sayonara.
amiga.
Adios.
Adios.
Now.
And all the other different
Magandang umaga.
Yeah, okay.
Love you night with you.
I love
And
you,
I
and
love
I'm
you
with
and I'm
you.
with you. Okay.
Love you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.